Darius Theus leads the conference in assists, and he has 6 this afternoon to go along with 4 points for VCU. His teammate, Troy Daniels, has 4 3-pointers. He's second in the conference in 3-point field goals made. All of his points coming beyond the arc. The second half starts now. Welcome back into the Stuart Siegel Center on the campus of VCU in Richmond, Virginia for the start of the second half. Part of ESPN Judgment Week. VCU leads George Mason 43-27. Rich Hollenberg courtside with Paul Biancardi, and we were treated to vintage VCU basketball, getting out to a 16-point lead over their rival George Mason. How did they do it? If we revisit the one-on-ones, you said George Mason has to handle the havoc. I don't think they did.
No, VCU pressures you with their press. And they do it half court and they do it full court. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to turn the basketball over, and that's what George Mason did. They had a bunch of turnovers that led to 17 points for VCU. You know they're going to come at you. You have to be strong with the basketball and make short passes. VCU also got hot from the outside. They shoot 32% behind the line. Tonight, 50%. They're 8 for 16 from threes, and the crowd gets into it. And the points off of turnovers, that's what they feed off of. That's what the crowd feeds off of. You have to limit your turnovers in the second half.
And this capacity crowd has been treated to a stellar senior night from the one senior on this Rams club. Bradford Burgess has not disappointed. A game-high 13 points along with 2 rebounds, and he's been solid, if not spectacular.
He's been consistent. He's been competitive. He's had a complete game so far. He doesn't have to be the star for VCU to win. But boy, he plays a big role.
VCU is 19-2 this season when leading at the half. And they have the ball going left to right to start the second half.
I see a lot of ball screens by VCU early in the shot clock and late in the shot clock. Shaka Smart likes to spread the floor and let his guards operate.
Under 10 to shoot. Here's Burgess catching fire. And with that 3-point bucket, Bradford Burgess surpasses the 1,600 career point mark in his 4-year career here with the Rams.
It's not the way you want to start if you're George Mason defensively. Now, if you're Mason, you want to move the basketball side to side. Don't get rattled.
5 to shoot. Here's Vaughns. Good follow by Morrison.
Nice shot fake by Vaughns. Got into the gap and allowed Morrison to get on the offensive glass.
Brian Allen trying not to give Troy Daniels any breathing room beyond the arc.
I'd be chest to chest with Daniels. When he catches the basketball, you have to make Daniels dribble to a shot, number 30 in the white.
Here's a George Mason turnover. And we'll get a foul. Andre Cornelius got the steal. And Darius Theus picks up his second personal foul.
Now in the half court, George Mason, ball reversal is very important. If VCU doesn't allow you to do that, make some back cuts, go back door, set a back screen. You have to loosen up this defense.
Here's Cornelius. Short on the 3, it goes out of bounds, and it'll be VCU basketball. And the fans at the Stew are letting the Patriots hear about it.
Now for 45, Cornelius, you have to play in the present. Forget that last possession, play the next possession.
Theus. A little bit of an errant pass, but Burgess bailed him out.
That was contested, that wasn't an open one.
Another foul on the floor for VCU. That's DJ Haley whistled for a foul, his first.
You see George Mason closing out on the shooters of VCU. Now VCU wants to drive the basketball. When the defense closes out hard, put it on the floor and get into the paint.
Andre Cornelius will go to the line and shoot a pair. He has 2 points so far this afternoon. 5'10" senior out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
And I like this young man making that free throw after the air ball. He didn't let the last possession affect this one.
Cornelius, an integral part in this rivalry. Last year, these two teams met in the conference tournament, and he tweeted before the game that they would have no problem with VCU. We all know what happened after that.
He needs a course on social media, that young man.
Coach Biancardi needs to get with him.
I'll speak to the team anytime.
It's a 15-point Rams lead. They have the ball.
Talking about Twitter, if you can't say it to your mother or to your grandmother or to your family, don't say it on Twitter.
There's number 11 in white, Brandenburg, getting some early minutes in the second half. Reddick, the foul, and he can't make the bucket. He'll go to the line and shoot a pair.
He didn't make the basket, Reddick, 15 in the white, because he was fading away. Nice ball movement, one-on-one in the post against Morrison. A hard dribble. He swings his body, but he has to take one more dribble, get a little closer, use that body to get closer to the rim. The slightest bump right now for Reddick, who has gained about 20 pounds in strength, still gets affected by contact.
First free throw of the game for Javonte Reddick. He's the second leading scorer on this team with 10.6 points per game.
And he has improved leaps and bounds. Talking to associate head coach Mike Rhodes, said this young man has improved tremendously. He can even get better. He has to bring it every game, Javonte Reddick.
Only a sophomore. He's going to stay George Mason basketball. So much youth on this VCU bench, and it's not just relegated to the team, who is the 9th youngest team in the country, but how about the coaching staff? Shaka Smart, the 9th youngest head coach in Division I basketball.
He still gets carded when he goes out at night. I mean, that's what he told me. It's amazing what Shaka Smart has done, sustained the excellence after going to the Final Four last year.
Here's Pearson. Spin move, the crowd wanted to travel, didn't get it.
Good team defense by VCU. A lot of white jerseys waiting for Pearson.
Good VCU defense, shot clock down to 10. Ball's on the floor, another Patriots turnover. Brandenburg. Burgess. And they're gonna get Copes on the foul. Reddick will go back to the line.
Nice job by Javonte Reddick, 15 in the white. He already has 4 double-doubles so far this season. When he plays lower in the post and doesn't shy away from contact, he could average a double-double for VCU. That's the type of potential this young man has.
6th in the conference in field goal percentage. 9th in rebounds, 7th in blocks. He could do a little bit of everything for Shaka Smart.
And he's gained 20 to 30 pounds in the offseason, which shows you his commitment to improvement.
Back up to an 18-point advantage for VCU. So far, 3 minutes gone in the second half, and George Mason hasn't been able to play.
Allen's got to give that up when he's double-teamed right away. You don't want to try to dribble the ball through a double team.
Tried to get it inside to Copes. It's out of bounds. Copes goes flying on the media table.
Javonte Reddick with good low post defense. You see Reddick, 15 in the white, working himself around in the post right here. He gets around, he gets his hand on the basketball, and he caused that turnover. Whether it's been the half court, Rich, or the full court, VCU has been all over the place defensively.
Here's Reddick waiting patiently for Weber, number 2 in white. Burgess. Off the mark that time. They're going to get a foul on the floor. And Javonte Reddick's going to get whistled for the foul. He's 4th in the conference in offensive rebounds, but not on that play.
He went for it. That's the most important part of rebounding, is going for the basketball. You may not always get it, but you got to go for it.
And he gets a steal there.
Too long of a pass.
Brandenburg in and out.
You have to come and meet the ball. If you're the receiver, can't make these passes long against VCU. They have to be short and snappy.
We're under the 16-minute mark. Can George Mason build momentum going into the postseason? Blocked by Reddick. Daniels. Another turnover. And Burgess taken down, and look out.
That's going to be a flagrant 2.
The crowd is seeing red. Bradford Burgess will go to the line with 15:24 to go. VCU up big, 21 points. It was George Mason in 2006 for the Colonial, followed by Butler from the Horizon League the last 2 years, and VCU last year as well. Who is next? Who will be wearing the Cinderella slipper?
For elite.
Back in Richmond, Rich Hollenberg, Paul Biancardi, the rest of the ESPN2 crew. We're seeing 2 teams who were Cinderellas in the past. Here are some teams to watch for this year, namely Wichita State with an RPI of 13, Paul.
Greg Marshall's done an outstanding job. When he left Winthrop, he took over this Wichita State program and has put them in the national spotlight. Beside those teams on our screen, other teams we don't want to see if you're in the NCAA tournament. This VCU team, St. Louis, Temple, Murray State. Those teams right now, if you are going to make the NCAA tournament in a Power 6 conference, you don't want to see those teams.
You're lucky you mentioned the Rams. Otherwise, you weren't getting out of this building.
We weren't getting out alive. And don't give up on George Mason, and Drexel is a very good team. You know, the top teams in the Colonial, Missouri Valley, the Horizon, they can beat any team from any conference any night. They're that good. Mountain West, we have UNLV, New Mexico.
When we went to break, Bradford Burgess was on a breakaway himself and was fouled. It was a flagrant 1 foul, and he'll take 2 shots. Burgess is perfect from the free throw line this afternoon, and here's a look.
It looks like it's a breakaway. The defender from Mason grabs him, but doesn't try to hurt him. He intentionally fouled him. That's why it's an F1. But there was nothing else that occurred that they thought would be an F2, which I said going into break, so I was wrong.
And with that call, it'll also remain VCU basketball. So the senior from Midlothian, Virginia, knocks down both of those free throws. He has a game-high 18. He's off the head of Brandenburg, but he retains possession right in front of our broadcast booth.
Masons has to dig in right here and get some stops. Anytime it's a half-court game, they have to take advantage of their size versus the speed of VCU.
Travion Graham. Almost got the home bounce. George Mason trying to cut into what is the largest deficit of the game. .50-50 ball. It's going to be a jump ball, and possession arrow is going to George Mason.
You see the defense by VCU. They're denying the basketball everywhere right there. That has to be a back cut for George Mason. When you come out for the basketball and the defender follows you, you have to then make a back cut to the basket.
And Javante Reddick had that steal there. 5 players on this VCU team who have at least 1 steal per game. Not many teams can make that claim.
They average 10 steals a game. They lead the nation in steals. It's hard to imagine when you think of the likes of Syracuse and Kentucky. VCU has more steals than any other team in the country.
Here's Pearson with 10 to shoot. Spin move in traffic. And he'll go to the line and shoot.
Well, if you're George Mason, you have to get the ball to Pearson, because right now they're isolating him on the left side and asking him to score or facilitate, and he can do both very well. This is the guy you want to have with the ball in his hands if you're George Mason. If he doesn't score, he'll get an assist or create contact and get to the foul line.
Knocks down the first. He was the first name that came up when we talked to Shaka Smart prior to this game. What do you need to do to beat George Mason? He said, we have to stop Ryan Pearson. He had 24 and 11 against us the last time out.
And by going to the foul line, you slow the game down and you put VCU in a half-court situation where they're not as dangerous as they are in transition.
Both free throws go for the 72% free throw shooter Pearson.
I like this move by George Mason, putting some pressure on VCU. Let's see how they attack it.
Here's Graham, thought better of it. And Teddy Okirafor running the point now for Shaka Smart.
Matthias got the ball out, though, and said, we need to slow this down.
We're going to get Vertrell Vaughns with the hand check foul.
Paul Hewitt can't understand it. He sees Vaughn with good ball pressure. The official sees a little bump.
Here's Graham. Burgess. Haley almost came away with the offensive board, but it's Patriots basketball.
Try to drive the ball or post feed it. Give it to him. There's the window of opportunity.
Look at this matchup. CAA powerhouses. Pearson and Burgess. Fouled on the shot. The three-pointer goes. He'll have a chance for a four-point play.
That all happened because the ball went in the post. Look at the way the ball goes inside, then it gets reversed. That ball went inside, out, and then around the perimeter. And when you do that offensively, good things happen. Something good needed to happen to George Mason, and it did.
And Darius Theus now saddled with his third foul. He's going to have to go to the bench. Briante Weber will check in his stead. And Troy Daniels came back in on the floor to provide some extra offense for Shaka Smart. This could be the play that George Mason needs to regain a little bit of the momentum that they missed.
Well, they need some belief, they need some confidence.
Vaughns can't convert the four-point play. Here's Graham. It's waved off, foul on the floor. They're going to get number 10, Sherrod Wright.
George Mason's trying to pressure VCU a little bit. They're putting two men on the ball, but VCU is splitting that two-man gap and then getting a 4-on-3. So if you're going to try to trap somebody, you have to make that offensive player pick up his dribble.
Jonathan Arledge checks out. Eric Copes checks back in. Two of the young big men for Paul Hewitt.
Copes is going to be terrific. Paul Hewitt is so high on him. Number 4 in the gold.
I saw him against Drexel a couple of months ago. He had 7 blocks in that game. They're going to get Wright with another hand check. 2 quick fouls on Sherrod Wright. He of the game-winning three-pointer that led George Mason to a win just 11 days ago on their home floor over the Rams.
Well, next time Mason fouls, VCU is going to be in the bonus.
And the officials are really starting to tighten their purse strings with the whistle. And we mentioned just 11 days ago, here was the fantastic finish with time running out. Sherrod Wright hoists up the 3 in front of the home crowd in Fairfax, Virginia, and pulls off the 62-61 victory.
Well, big stat in that game was second chance points. George Mason had 16 of them. Tonight they're still in single digits. They're going to shoot and miss the basketball, they got to get on the glass. But first they have to get some shots and not turn the ball over.
It's an 18-point game. Brian Allen with the ball.
18 turnovers so far for George Mason.
Pearson hits the deck, and they're going to get a foul. Or they call a timeout. No foul called. It's going to be a 20-second timeout for Paul Hewitt's Patriots. They have not been able to solve this VCU havoc. They're down by 18. Thanks, Jonathan. You mentioned Joe Lenardi. Here's his bracketology breakdown by conference. The Big East, everyone said it was a down year, and yet he has 9 teams getting in. You look farther down this list, you see a couple of mid-major schools, a couple of mid-major conferences represented. The WCC, the West Coast Conference, with 3 teams, the Missouri Valley with 2. Where's the CAA, I ask you?
Well, I think they could get 2 in. The way VCU has played all season, their body of work, the way they're playing today, they're going to have to make a run in their tournament. But they are easily one of the 68 best teams in the country. I don't care what index you use.
Nice shot off the glass by Pearson. He has 15 to lead the Patriots. Here's Reddick with some space. Wild shot off the mark. And it's going to go the other way. And is this the story? What a difference a year makes. Last year, a well-deserved 3 teams from the Colonial made it in: Old Dominion, George Mason, VCU. This year, could it possibly be just a 1-bid league? We'll find out next week after this postseason tournament takes place.
Looks like Joey Brackets loves the high majors. 9 Big East teams, Joey, come on.
Hasn't made a lot of fans here in Richmond in the last few days.
And I understand it. You have to give the credit to the schedule that you play in the Big East is maybe the best conference in America.
And another over and back call, so that's a turnover for the Patriots. VCU cruising 54-38 in front of their home crowd. VCU comfortably ahead of George Mason, 54-38, part of ESPN Judgment Week. Paul, we mentioned before the break the success that the Colonials had in recent postseasons. George Mason making the 06 Final Four. Old Dominion back-to-back NCAA appearances. They won 1 game in Notre Dame in 2010. They were a layup away from beating Butler last year in the first round. And then, of course, last year, everybody's darling right here in Richmond, VCU making it to the 2011 Final Four.
And don't forget who was on that team: Joey Rodriguez, Jamie Scan, big part of that Final Four run. You know, part of the CAA and their successes in their recruiting, they get guys that the high major programs, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big East have interest in. They snag them up, they develop them over 4 years, and they have senior-ready teams ready to compete in the NCAA tournament.
VCU, with a win tonight, sets the all-time mark for regular season wins with 25. They're at 24-6 right now. Here's Wright. Morrison, skip pass. 3-pointer short, Reddick with the rebound. Patriots get the loose ball. And Corey Edwards knocks down a 3. Down to a 16-point game.
Rich, VCU must make sure they don't fall asleep right now. They're only up 13.
It's a 10-0 George Mason run.
Mason's done a nice job methodically getting back in this game.
Ten on the shot clock.
Mason needs to sit down and guard right here.
Daniels. Long. Fresh 35 for VCU.
The defense was good. The rebounding was bad for George Mason.
Has there been any kind of change in the strategy for Shaka Smart with such a big lead? What happened to the Havoc?
You have to score to create it. They've only scored 11 points so far in this half.
Going to get the foul on Vaughn Gray, and Reddick will go to the line and shoot 2. He's been living on the free throw line in the second half.
A promising prospect. Only a sophomore. 6'9", 235. He came in 6'9", about 215. Has done a tremendous job in the weight room, getting stronger. He just needs to play lower in the post. The lower you play inside, the better you play inside.
And despite struggling this evening from the free throw line, he's putting up yeoman-like numbers. 9 points, make it 10 to go along with 8 rebounds. Nearing a double-double for Javante Reddick.
And by getting to the foul line, VCU can put on the havoc.
Here's Wright off the window, the bump and the basket.
And that's how you attack pressure. That time George Mason threw over the top. They had a 2-on-1. Terrific read. Go to the basket until somebody stops you and then give it up. Sometimes the best thing you can do against pressure is attack it.
And here's Sherrod Wright, the redshirt sophomore out of Mount Vernon, New York, at the line. His first trip to the free throw line, leads the conference in free throw shooting. And he converts the three-point play.
And this allows George Mason to set up some of their pressure.
Don't look now, just an 11-point lead for VCU. Coming up on 10 minutes to go in the game. Tipped out of bounds. It's going to stay VCU basketball.
George Mason really picking up the intensity right now on the defensive end. It's created some easy baskets for him. Now, if they can sit down and guard and challenge the shot, clean up the board, they can get into less than a 10-point game.
Here's Burgess. .21 for Bradford Burgess to lead all scorers.
You see the three-point shot really energizes the defense of VCU.
Here's Arledge. His first 2. Weber splits the trap, and they're going to get the foul. If it's on Wright, it's his 3rd. Instead, they get it on number 5, Jonathan Arledge.
So you don't want to bail out VCU 75 feet away from the basket with a foul. If you're going to put on a trap, you can't let him out. Make him dribble around or throw it out, but don't let him split the trap.
Here's Weber at the line. Shooting 1 and 1. Rattles around and in for Briante Weber. Tonight, the Big East leading Syracuse Orange visit rival Connecticut on Saturday primetime, presented by DirecTV. Saturday primetime presented by DirecTV on ESPN at 9 Eastern. Coverage begins with College Game Day, covered by State Farm at 8 Eastern.
Rich, you're a Syracuse grad. I'm going to put you on the spot. Can they win in Storrs, Connecticut tonight?
I think they can. I've seen a lot of UConn, and they just seem too uneven to me, and Syracuse just too consistent.
It depends who shows up for Connecticut. If all the talent plays together, they can create the upset. If not, it's going to be another long night for the Huskies.
Right, way off the mark on the 3. Burgess with the rebound, and he's fouled by Pearson. VCU will be shooting free throws on every foul the rest of the game.
You don't want to foul 94 feet away from the basket. That's just a foolish foul. You love the passion, you love the intensity, but just get back and guard. There's 8:46 to go. It's only a 14-point game. There's plenty of time if you dig in on the half court.
And the technical foul was called on Ryan Pearson. We alluded to it earlier, especially in the second half, Paul. It seems like the officials are really taking things into their own hands. They don't want things to get out of hand here against two teams who are big rivals. The crowd, the energy, what's at stake, they realize it just like the teams do.
Well, if you watch the way the official called that technical, It looked like a soft technical.
And you see this crowd, they've been at full throat the entire evening. This is a real luxury that VCU enjoys more than any mid-major program in America. They're one of only 5 programs in Division I basketball to sell out every game this season.
I've been to a lot of venues in my college coaching career. And when I look to my left and to my right and across, everyone is standing up.
And everyone's in black and gold as well.
The acoustics are out of control. The atmosphere is second to none here at VCU.
With the free throw here, Bradford Burgess matches his season high with 24 points. And we mentioned the home sellouts. Look at the elite company that VCU is in terms of fan support. Kansas, Gonzaga, Michigan State, and of course the Dukies in Cameron Indoor. Season high, 24 points.
You have to be really good or really talented to win in those venues. Duke, Kansas, Gonzaga, and here at VCU.
And on senior night, Bradford Burgess has a season high 25 points.
Now VCU trying to change their defense, a little 2-3 zone, make George Mason take some time off the shot clock. I like this move by Shaka Smart. Let's see if George Mason settles for threes. They do a terrific job, Rich, at getting the ball to the middle against the zone. That's where you want to attack a 2-3 zone, right in the middle where it says CAA. Get the ball to the middle, let Pearson operate.
And Shaka Smart's really emptied his bench this evening. He usually plays just about 8 players most of the minutes, but number 34, David Hinton on the floor, he gets called for a foul. Pearson, 72% free throw shooter. He's 3 for 3 from the line this evening.
We saw Shaka Smart today in the shoot-around. I mean, he had a little practice in him himself today. We're playing the point guard position for the scout unit. He still has a little game there.
And no one loved him more than his kids.
They absolutely loved it when Shaka Smart played the point guard on the scout team today. They were trapping him all over the court.
Good hands by Morrison. It's out of bounds, it'll stay VCU basketball.
But George Mason is really in a denial mode right now. Watch VCU maybe going long right now. Everyone's up for George Mason.
Daniels inbounds. And Rob Brandenburg will bring it up for the Rams.
Paul Hewitt taking off those traps in the backcourt. He doesn't want to see any more fouls. He can guard VCU in a half-court game, no doubt about it.
Brandenburg pulls up. Rebound to Brian Allen. We're under 8 minutes to go. Cornelius, almost a circus shot. And Reddick with the rebound, but a foul on George Mason. With 7:52 to go, no quit in Paul Hewitt's Patriots. A lot of emotion from the sideline and from the players on the court. Well, you heard Jonathan Coachman talking about Richmond and Xavier. I have it on good authority that one of those teams is listed here in the blind resume. So, Paul Biancardi, who do you take in your NCAA tournament?
I'm going to take number 3. Strength of schedule is 37. They've played the toughest schedule so far this year. Nobody's been good against the top 50. We don't see overall wins. We see conference wins.
What do you value the most?
I value right there. I value, yep, strength of schedule.
Okay.
Because they played the toughest teams in the country from that graphic.
Do you have any guess as to what teams those are or which team the one you chose is?
I have no idea. I try to ask. At the timeout, nobody would tell me.
Our producers are sworn to secrecy. That's why they call it the blind resume. 2 free throws from Reddick.
VCU back in the zone. Shaka Smart told us today at shoot-around he wants George Mason to move the basketball, run some clock. He's got a big lead. This eats at the clock. Maybe they settle for threes.
Here's Pearson. That's vintage Ryan Pearson. The spin to his left, and he gets it to go.
But that all happened in practice. Paul Hewitt told us he's going to get the ball to the middle against his own, and they did just that.
Pearson's above his season average. He has 19, averages 17.6. So let's show you who is, let's take the blindfold off, Paul. Who are these three teams? VCU on the left, Xavier in the middle, and USF.
Well, I'm going to get a good phone call from Stan Heath anyway. He's done a terrific job at South Florida.
Weber knocks down the first free throw.
10 conference wins in the Big East. That's why the strength of schedule is so strong. Nobody's really done well against the top 50. We don't see overall wins right there.
Xavier's kind of had an up and down season, but possibly peaking at the right time.
Possibly. They have enough talent to win their conference tournament in the Atlantic 10. The VCU absolutely has work to do. But they have the talent, and they're battle tested.
It comes down to a 3-game winning streak starting next week in the quarterfinals of the CAA tournament.
And you never talk about coaching being involved in the criteria, but now you have a head coach in Shaka Smart who took this team last year to the Final Four. Different team. Paul Hewitt has taken a team to the Final Four, Georgia Tech in 2004. We don't have a category for coaching. I wonder if we should.
Wright, best free throw shooter in the conference, knocks it down. He has 8 points, and it's back down to a 15-point VCU lead. Under 7 minutes to go. All alone, Javante Reddick. And the havoc doesn't let up, even when you have a 17-point lead.
George Mason had everybody up. Sooner or later, that was going to happen. Good recognition by VCU to go long.
Pearson for 3. Short. Morrison the rebound. And they're going to get the block on Reddick.
Great offensive rebound by 22 in the gold, Mike Morrison, the senior. He's not going to give up. Rebounds out of his area. Makes kind of a blind move to the basket. Could have been an offensive foul. He's getting to the line, though, for 2 shots.
Morrison, a 6'9" senior out of St. Petersburg, Florida, number 3 all-time in blocks in George Mason history.
Morrison really struggles from the foul line. 53% free throw shooter. He had 19 points in a loss against Northeastern recently, George Mason's last game.
Talk about distractions.
As soon as we did, he made it.
7 points for Morrison. The lead is 16 for the Rams.
Now Morrison's going to go deep to protect the basket. So there's no more layups for VCU.
Weber. Off the mark. Edwards the rebound for the Patriots. Nice look ahead to Morrison. And they're going to get a technical for hanging on the rim.
We'll have to see that one again. Great throw ahead pass by Edwards to get an easy basket. Morrison running in transition. He might have felt that Javante Reddick, he knew he was behind him. He assumed he was under him. That's why he was holding on.
So a big bucket could have been a momentum changer for the Patriots, but now Bradford Burgess will go to the line and shoot a technical.
I know the intent of that rule was put in so guys wouldn't do the chin-ups on the backboard. on the rim. I've never been up that high, so I don't know what to call it. But if you feel you're in danger as a player, I think you have the right to hold on to that rim. Now, if you're going to do a chin-up, that's a different story.
Truth be told, I don't think he was thinking about the danger of another player at that point, but I still don't think he was hanging on to the rim for that long that it warranted a technical foul.
But he knew Reddick was behind him. He just didn't. He assumed. See, he knew Reddick was behind him because he had to look over his shoulder to catch it. His momentum makes him hold on for a second. I just don't like that rule.
27 points for Bradford Burgess. He's perfect from the free throw line this evening. I don't know if he could have scripted a better senior night, huh?
Not at all. Let's see if he writes the ending to his career next week in the Colonial Athletic Conference Tournament.
Here's Rob Brandenburg, who's really had a turnaround the second half of this season for Shaka Smart.
George Mason made a great run. Now VCU has the lead back up again big. 16.
Nice take, Burgess comes up empty.
And they've done it by making the three, VCU, and they're havoc.
Edwards went up with it, he gets the foul, and he'll go to the line and shoot a pair.
See Paul Hewitt on the sideline talking to the official. Probably about that last technical still. I like the mindset of George Mason right now. They're just going to put their head down and go.
You're watching Judgment Week. It's the Virginia Commonwealth Rams at home hosting the George Mason Patriots. Another sellout here at the Stuart Siegel Center on the campus of VCU. Rich Hollenberg, Paul Biancardi. Coming up next, Richmond at Xavier. Stay tuned for that. We still have 5.5 to go in this contest.
Now's the time you want to exercise patience if you're VCU. A big lead coming up on 5 minutes to go. Shaka Smart gonna run his spread offense.
And you wouldn't know it by the score, Paul, but in the last 10 minutes or so, VCU's only managed 2 field goals, and yet they're 15 for 17 from the free throw line.
ISO for Burgess.
Burgess had it knocked out of bounds, was looking for a call, didn't get one, but it stays VCU basketball.
There's 2 seconds on the shot clock. Shaka Smart calls a timeout.
VCU, 30-second timeout.
Sunday, the high-scoring Indiana Hoosiers need a win against Minnesota to gain ground in the Big Ten standings. Judgment Week on ESPN, ESPN3. That's Sunday at 1 Eastern. We heard Jonathan Coachman tell us that Michigan upset at home. That was one of those teams who really enjoyed their home cooking there at Chrysler Arena, much like VCU does here. They're 12-1 at home, are the Rams, looking to make it 13-1 if they can hold on in these next 5 minutes.
They got 2 seconds on the shot clock. Baseline out of bounds. We saw Shaka Smart today at shoot-around work on a screen and slip situation. But they're going to set a screen, and if George Mason switches that screen, you're going to see VCU slip to the basket, and that's what they're going to have to do, a quick score on the baseline out of bounds, or you may look for a lob to the basket from the weak side.
Here's Daniels. Got a clean look, but off the mark. Up ahead, good catch by Morrison. And Morrison's got to be careful.
Morrison
he gets another technical,
down.
He gets the gate.
Personal foul is charged to number 15.
Well, this time George Mason protected the lane. It allowed an open three-point shot. Coach Smart said today, if that's Daniels, he can shoot it from anywhere, anytime. I said, Coach, does he have the green light for you? He says, Paul, he has the neon green light.
Morrison now 1 for 3 from the free throw line this evening.
We love the energy and the effort by Morrison. Has to make sure, though, he channels that in the right direction. He should never be talking to the official. No player should talk to the official. It should be the coach.
4:49 to go in the game. 72-58 VCU with the lead. Both teams in the double bonus. Morrison hit 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Pearson sat down for a quick spell and is back in the game. You'd have to imagine Paul Hewitt wants him on the floor the rest of this contest.
They got a nice 5-second violation. Good defense by Mason.
Weber with the steal. And it just touches the sideline right in front of us. It'll go back to the Patriots.
And Weber, too, in the white, is one of the big reasons why VCU leads the country in steals. Has over 2 per game himself.
Let's see if the highest scoring team in the Colonial can get hot in these next 4.5 minutes and make this a game.
George Mason, 46% from the field. The best in the Colonial. Not on that possession.
Shaka Smart's got quality minutes from his reserve guards, Brandenburg and Weber, with Darius Theus in foul trouble. 10 to shoot. And they get Pearson on the foul. It's been that kind of game for George Mason. Frustration abounds.
VCU is just spreading the floor, running their ball screen, spread offense. They're going to drive it. They know they're in the double bonus. So every time there's a foul on George Mason, 2 shots for VCU.
Graham off the mark. He had 5 points in the first half, shut out so far in the second half. 6'5" freshman out of Washington, D.C.
It's going to take some strong 3-point shooting right now by Mason to make one last run at this. They're going to have to continue to share the ball, drive it and kick it, or drive it and score it.
Nice layup for Allen off the window. He has 5 points.
Too easy. VCU has to step in and take a charge on that.
12-point lead. The game is not out of reach for George Mason. Weber, quick hands. Clean block by Morrison, and then they get the foul. We're under 4 minutes to go, 3:37 to go. Bradford Burgess started out emotionally with his parents on the court on senior night, and he wants to end it with career win 104.
In the works package.
Thanks, Jonathan. George Mason trying somehow to get back in this game. They have never led in this contest. VCU up 12 right now, and that's about as close as they've been in the second half, Paul.
Well, the story of this game has been points off of turnovers. VCU has 20 points from George Mason's 19 turnovers, along with the red-hot shooting of VCU. With all that said, George Mason only down 12 points.
And we talked about this in the first half, as Mike Morrison is permanently on the bench now, fouled out with 10 points and 8 boards. We talked about this in the first half. If VCU can't hit their free throws, this will be a lot closer game than it should be.
Well, the 3-point shot has saved them tonight. First half 50%, second half only 27%. They can't fall in love with that shot just because it's going in.
Pearson slips the double and somehow manages to get it up, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Good aggressive take by Ryan Pearson. He catches the ball at the elbow. That's a hard place to double team. VCU tried to double team him. He did the right thing. He faced the basket, put it on the floor and go. He had the right side of the floor open.
20 points and 7 rebounds, 11 for 14 from the field. That's why so many people think he could very well be the player of the year in the Colonial. Never flashy, never spectacular.
Just gets his job done in a variety of ways. Big rebounder, good facilitator.
1 for 2, so he stays at 20 points for the night.
George Mason plays through him and to him every possession.
Theus back on the floor. He's number 10 in white. He'll keep it down the stretch for Shaka Smart. He gets fouled, he'll go to the line and shoot 2.
That time Paul Hewitt told his defense to foul. Theus only a 65% free throw shooter. Coach Hewitt, who took Georgia Tech to a Final Four, realizes the clock is the enemy as much as VCU.
And how about this? For consistency at the point for VCU. Darius Theus is number 1 in the conference in assists. Assuming he wins that title, he has 6 assists this evening. He will be the 6th straight guard for VCU to lead the conference in that category. The 6th year in a row that a VCU point guard has led the conference in assists per game.
You think of the great ones, Joey Rodriguez, Eric Maynard. Some guys that could really play after college, too. Getting in trouble right there on the trap.
Ryan Allen was looking up right in front of us. I didn't see him try to call the timeout, to be honest with you. They're going to get the foul on VCU.
He was talking to the official for the timeout. He turns his back. That's not a good sign for a point guard. He's telling the official, I need a timeout quick, or call a foul. One of the two. You have to be careful when you turn your back, when a team is going to trap a ball screen or hard hedge. You have to retreat dribble. That means you have to back it up, re-attack on the other side.
Allen knocks down the first free throw, and with the proliferation of fouls in the second half, this game is really slow to a crawl. Does that allow George Mason the opportunity to get back into this?
Absolutely. The slower the game, the better for Mason. The clock now becomes the enemy with a double-digit lead for VCU.
7 points for Allen. Full court pressure from the Patriots.
See if Paul Hewitt wants to foul again or play it straight this possession.
This is the closest they've been in the second half.
Paul Hewitt saying no foul, straight up D, let's stop him.
Coming,
5-second violation, you have to be careful if you're Burgess.
Coming up on 2.5 to go. Burgess with the take. $29 points for Bradford Burgess, 5 off his career high. Allen off the mark, great follow by Pearson. 22 points for Ryan Pearson.
Love the fight, George Mason. Absolutely love the fight. Burgess has a little bit of an isolation at the top of the key, but he does it all on both ends. Look at him trap right there. Gets the steal, unselfishly gives it up to his teammate. He's hardworking. He's on the floor for loose balls. He's unselfish. And yes, he can stroke the basketball too. He's consistent, he's complete, and a competitive player for Shaka Smart.
29 points is a season high. His career high is 34. And you know that Shaka Smart's going to want the ball in Bradford Burgess's hands the remainder of this game, so he's going to have ample opportunity at the free throw line, if not from the field, to surpass that career high on what could be the biggest night of his career in the regular season at least.
In that last possession, Burgess had an isolation from the top of the key, drove his man to the basket. There was no help by Mason. He got a layup. Shaka Smart recognizes the mismatches. He tries to isolate those guys and put them in positions where they can score the basketball.
They call him Big Shot Brad, among other things, here at VCU. He had a game-winning shot against ODU, 24 points earlier this season to win at Old Dominion. 26 points versus Florida State last year to advance to the Elite Eight.
This summer, I saw him at the Chris Paul camp. Now, that's a camp for point guards. He went, Burgess, to work on his skills and his game. You can see the fruits of his labor paying off here today.
And they're going to get the foul on the floor on number 45 in gold, Andre Cornelius. And that's his 5th foul of the game, so he fouls out, joins starter Mike Morrison on the bench. 2 Patriots fouling out in the game.
Paul Hewitt using this time for a little mini timeout, as most coaches do. Foul's not all that bad. You didn't want Cornelius to foul out. Stops the clock. Only 11-point game right now.
Take a quick timeout, throw it to the studio, and Jonathan Coachman. Jonathan, what you got? So Xavier making a late season push to be included in the field of 68. As of right now, Joe Lenardi has them listed as one of the last 4 in, along with Texas, Northwestern, and Colorado State.
He's got South Florida out. I just said it to the nation, they were in.
Are you a certified bracketologist? I wasn't sure of that.
I am not a bracketologist.
But you can play one on TV.
But I love what Joey Brackets does to stay up with the pairing and the seeding. And he starts this as soon as conference play begins in January. He's a machine, Joe Lenardi.
Rich Hollenberg, Paul Biancardi, 76-65 from inside another sellout crowd. The capacity crowd here inside the Stuart Siegel Center has been treated to a dominant performance for the most part by Shaka Smart's VCU Rams. And yet, you look up at the clock, Paul, with 2:12 to go in this game. Final regular season contest between these two, and VCU only leads it by 11, 76-65. Why is that?
Three-point shooting for VCU hasn't been as strong as it was in the first half, only 27%. George Mason scoring the ball a little bit better against the press, not turning it over so much in the last 5 to 10 minutes. But right now, George Mason has no timeouts left. So they're gonna have to foul if they want to stop the clock.
And right now there's a discrepancy over which George Mason player is going to be checking in. The Gold and Green only have 4 players on the floor. It's either going to be Ryan Pearson.
I know who Paul Hewitt
Paris Bennett.
I know Paul Hewitt wants Pearson in the game.
With all due respect to number 1 Paris Bennett, he's saying, send Pearson in.
Burgess has a chance right here to get it to 13.
Bradford Burgess will shoot a pair.
Bradford Burgess has been perfect from the line this evening. And once again, the TV jinx in full effect.
But he's played an almost perfect game. Tremendous from the foul line. 29 points, senior night, making big plays with the basketball. Rebounding, defense.
And with that free throw, Bradford Burgess has tied his career high with 30 points. And he'll check out. Will it be for the last time in the regular season for Bradford Burgess?
This game is not over.
And there he is. An outstanding night, and it's not over. Shaka Smart says, go out for an encore, big fella.
And Shaka Smart is saying, we need to win this game, and then we'll celebrate your senior night after.
We were talking to the coaching staff and the sports information director, and he was saying there's a big gala scheduled for afterwards. Friends, family, relatives. This is a big family here, and Shaka Smart has really cultivated that type of feeling.
He's embraced it, absolutely. He's embraced it, he's a people person. VCU has had some outstanding coaches, Jeff Capel, Anthony Grant, now Shaka Smart.
A reminder coming up, Richmond and Xavier from the Cintas Center. Here's Darius Theus coming up on 2 minutes to go. Theus will go to the line and shoot 2. It's 14-0 Xavier in that game against Richmond.
They're trying to make a statement to Joe Lunardi. You know, you look up at the clock, and it just doesn't move fast enough if you're Shaka Smart.
Darius Theus at the line, 2 shots.
Here's Theus at the line shooting 2. He has 5 points. Make it 6.
This young man has really grown up as a point guard, Theus. Joey Rodriguez led this team to the Final Four last year. Theus played a lot, didn't start. Now he's filling those shoes of Joey Rodriguez, doing a tremendous job leading this team, scoring the basketball, defending on the ball, making crunch time free throws.
He had 11 points and 6 assists the last time out against George Mason. Knox bound both of those free throws. He has 7 points and 7 assists this evening. Pearson, partially blocked by Daniels. And here comes Theus. And they wisely pull it back out with under 2 minutes to go. Knocked out of bounds, stays VCU basketball.
Daniels rubbing his left eye like he got hit in the eye. He's trying to work the official maybe for a couple of free throws.
Bradford Burgess returns. He takes the place of David Hinton.
Here's Burgess with the ball. He's fouled almost immediately, and he'll have a chance to add to a career high.
As we mentioned earlier, Bradford's brother Jordan will be joining VCU next year. Our colleague Dave Tellep says his toughness in shooting is ahead of Bradford's right now, the same stage. Would have been nice if they could have played together.
Yeah. We were talking to him before the game. We were saying, who's better? And he kind of hedged his bets. He tried to be a good big brother, but he said, I've got a better jump shot than my little brother. Let's put it that way.
I said, Bradford, did you have to recruit Jordan? He says, no, Coach Smart did that.
Burgess has a new career high with 31 points. 4 threes on the night. Make that 5 3-pointers on the night. Nearly perfect from the free throw line. What a way to go out here in the home floor. And we're gonna have a foul going the other way. Paul Hewitt gathers his troops. What's he telling them right now?
Let's hang in there. This isn't over. It absolutely isn't over. If VCU does not make their free throws, George Mason can cut this down and tie it up. He's not talking about the conference tournament right now, Paul Hewitt. He's trying to win this game.
Coming up on ESPN2 immediately following the conclusion of this game, we'll send you out to Atlantic 10 Conference Basketball. Richmond at Xavier is underway. You can watch that on ESPN3. We'll get you there immediately following the conclusion of this game. It's 14-0 Xavier as we speak. Hinton's at the line to shoot. Way off the mark.
Pearson fouled out. Good performance offensively. Every time he caught the basketball, though, VCU was just smothering him wherever he caught the ball.
The third Patriot player to foul out is Ryan Pearson. And it's all 3 of their seniors. The bucket and the foul.
Wright with a strong take. He knows time is of the essence. Gets to the cup. Goes to the other side. Gets the old-fashioned chance for the old-fashioned 3-point play. If you're George Mason and you can make this free throw, you have to full court press, try to get a steal. If not, foul right away. Mason has no timeouts.
Completes the 3-point play. He's got 11 points.
Try to get a steal right here, a 5-second violation, then foul.
They haven't been able to get it to single digits. They have a chance now. And they come up empty. Tantalizingly close.
So close, yet so far for George Mason. If they score that basket, they have a chance to set up their pressure again. You gotta love the heart and soul of George Mason here this afternoon. Look at the fight. Trying to climb back into single digits.
And now the youngsters are gonna have to do it for Paul Hewitt. Pearson, Morrison, Cornelius, all fouled out, all three seniors, all three starters. And this will be their 44th free throw attempt for the VCU Rams.
They already have made more free throws than George Mason has attempted. Now you can say, well, home court advantage, the officiating. VCU plays an aggressive style of basketball. When you're the aggressor, you're gonna get a lot of fouls in your favor.
Coming up on a minute to go. Allen blocked by Theus. Daniels comes away with it, and he's fouled and will go to the line. Well, Paul, we've talked about this throughout this contest. VCU, if they don't win the postseason conference tournament, do they still have a shot to get into the dance?
I don't know that, but I know one thing. This VCU basketball team can beat any team in the country when they play this way. Now, I know they're at home, but when you play this style of basketball, and your head coach has taken this team to the Final Four last year, there's some players returning who've been part of that Final Four. This VCU team is one of the 68 best teams. Will they get in? That's up to the committee.
And listen to the reception for Bradford Burgess. 1 minute to go, and they'll get the foul on Theus.
I know one thing, Rich. I don't care if I'm Syracuse, Kentucky, Ohio State. I wouldn't want to see VCU in the NCAA tournament. It has nothing to do with what happened last year. It's all about this year. Shaka Smart has this team playing at a high level come March.
And that's the one issue that I would have with the way that they choose the at-large teams. And I'm not, listen, VCU has a tremendous chance to go into Richmond down the road here at the Richmond Coliseum and come away with the conference tournament championship. And this conversation becomes moot at that point. But my eye test, when you talk about an eye test, my eye test says VCU is worth being in the field of 68.
There's no doubt about it. And I think a lot of basketball people would agree. But with these formulas, they put them into a computer. How much is human element? I don't know.
And you would think they'd try to make it easier. Instead, it's becoming a little more detailed and maybe even a little more difficult because ESPN is instituting something called the BPI, which is a little bit different than the RPI.
And then I have the PPI, Paul Biancardi Index. I might as well throw one out there.
And here's a look at what the BPI is. All Division I games are taken into account. Location of the games, the pace of the games, strength of the opponent, which is also important.
And I like the injury factor. When a guy doesn't play, I think that's important.
Injuries, suspensions taken into account. And that should do it. That should be the exclamation point that Shaka Smart needed. VCU up 15, 87-72 with 56.1 to go in the game.
A smart decision by Mason not to foul on the breakaway. You may see this team in the Colonial Athletic League tournament. You don't want to do anything right now if you're Mason to put it in the memory bank of VCU.
And here's another look at what just transpired.
Little back screen to go long because the defense was sucking up towards the basketball. Now I will say this game is all but over.
87 points for VCU. They average only 67.6 on the season. So they're adding a couple seconds onto the clock. 59 seconds. 59 and a half to be exact.
Well, Shaka Smart wants 5.9. He wants to get this over with.
They're going to have to shoot the threes, and they're going to have to shoot them in a hurry. Bennett knocks down a three.
Big shot by Bennett off the bench. Gave him a good lift. He may see some more playing time in the conference tournament.
Burgess gets it away before the foul comes. And Reddick's been able to practice his dunks all alone.
Paul Hewitt was telling his team, wanting them to foul in the backcourt, not allow the long pass.
Allen, baseline, good. 9 points for Brian Allen.
No more fouls.
Paul Hewitt calls off his troops. This one's going to go in the record books as another win for VCU. They're going to improve to 25-6 on the year. That's the most regular season wins in Virginia Commonwealth school history. They're going to lock up the coveted #2 seed in next week's Colonial Athletic Association tournament with this win here.
And second place in the Colonial Athletic League.
And what a way to go out for Bradford Burgess. Misses that shot, but has a career high 31.
They had to shoot the basketball. There's still 1.7 left on the game clock. Like the way the players gave the ball to Burgess.
And it just gives Burgess 1.7 more seconds to soak up the love.
A lot of love right there between him and the coaching staff.
Shots no good. Final score, 89-77, VCU. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now let's send you to Cincinnati. Here's Bob Picozzi and LaFonso.